The laws of human stupidity. The hidden mistakes that keep people poor, weak, and unsuccessful. Introduction. Most people believe that failure comes from a lack of intelligence. They think poor people are poor because they are not smart enough. They think unsuccessful people fail because they lack talent. They believe that if someone has a high IQ, a good education, or exceptional skills, success is almost guaranteed. Reality tells a different story. Look around. You will find intelligent people drowning in debt, highly educated people stuck in jobs they hate, talented individuals wasting years of their lives chasing distractions. Meanwhile, some people with average intelligence quietly build wealth, strong relationships, and meaningful lives. Why? Because success is not determined by intelligence alone. It is determined by decisions. And many of our decisions are surprisingly stupid. Human stupidity is not a rare condition that affects only a few unfortunate people. It is universal. Every person, regardless of age, education, wealth, or status, has a stupid side. The problem is that most people never recognize it. They repeat the same mistakes year after year. They choose comfort over growth. They spend money they cannot afford. They avoid opportunities because of fear. They follow crowds without thinking. They blame others for problems they created themselves. Then, they wonder why life never changes. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. A single stupid decision rarely ruins a life. Thousands of small stupid decisions do. This book is not about mocking people. It is not about calling anyone foolish. It is about exposing the hidden patterns of behavior that quietly destroy success, happiness, health, and wealth. Each chapter will reveal one of these laws, mistakes so common that millions of people make them every day without realizing it. You may recognize some of them in your friends. You may recognize some of them in your family. Most importantly, you may recognize them in yourself. That realization is not something to fear. It is the beginning of wisdom. Because the smartest people are not those who never act foolishly. The smartest people are those who identify their stupidity, learn from it, and refuse to repeat it. Welcome to the laws of human stupidity. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The first law. Everyone has a stupid side. Imagine a brilliant surgeon who saves lives every day, but smokes a pack of cigarettes daily. Imagine a successful businessman who earns millions, but spends more than he makes. Imagine a university professor who can explain complex theories, but repeatedly chooses toxic relationships. Are these people intelligent? Of course. Are they also capable of making foolish decisions? Absolutely. This leads us to the first law of human stupidity. Every person has a stupid side. No exceptions. Not the rich, not the educated, not the talented, not even the geniuses. Most people imagine stupidity as a lack of intelligence. They picture someone who struggles in school or fails to understand simple ideas. But true stupidity is something else. Stupidity is acting against your own interests. It is knowing what is right and doing the opposite. It is seeing the warning signs and continuing anyway. It is making decisions that create unnecessary problems for yourself and others. A person can have a high IQ and still be stupid in certain areas of life. History is filled with examples. Brilliant leaders have destroyed their careers because of arrogance. Talented athletes have lost everything because of poor choices. Successful celebrities have gone bankrupt despite earning fortunes. Their problem was not a lack of intelligence. Their problem was believing they were immune to mistakes. One of the most dangerous forms of stupidity is overconfidence. The moment people believe they are too smart to fail, they stop questioning their decisions. They stop listening. They stop learning. they stop paying attention to warning signs. And that is when mistakes become disasters. Consider a simple example. A person knows they should save money. They understand the importance of an emergency fund. They have heard financial experts repeat the advice hundreds of times. Yet they continue spending every paycheck on things they do not need. The problem is not ignorance. The problem is behavior. Knowledge alone does not protect people from stupidity. In fact, knowledge can sometimes make it worse. Why? Because knowledge creates confidence, and confidence can create blindness. Many people become experts in explaining why others fail. Very few become experts in examining their own mistakes. That is why self-awareness is one of the rarest qualities in the world.
The people who grow the most are not those who think they are always right. They are the ones who regularly ask themselves, what if I'm wrong? What am I failing to see? What mistake am I repeating? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are powerful. Every major improvement in life begins with recognizing a mistake. The person who admits they are wasting time can become productive. The person who admits they are spending recklessly can become wealthy. The person who admits they are making unhealthy choices can transform their health. Awareness comes first. Change comes second. The first law of human stupidity is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to free you. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to eliminate every weakness. You simply need the humility to recognize that, like every other human being on earth, you have a stupid side. The moment you accept that truth, you gain something powerful. The ability to learn from your mistakes instead of becoming trapped by them. And that is where wisdom begins.
Chapter 2. The Comfort Trap. Imagine two people standing at the same starting line. The first chooses the easy path. The second chooses the difficult path. At first, the easy path looks much better. It requires less effort, less sacrifice, less discomfort. While the second person wakes up early, studies, practices, and struggles, the first person relaxes, watches entertainment, scrolls through social media, and enjoys life. For a while, nothing seems wrong. In fact, the person choosing comfort may appear happier. But then something interesting happens. Months pass. Years pass. The easy path becomes difficult, and the difficult path becomes easy. This is the comfort trap. One of the greatest forms of human stupidity is choosing short-term comfort over long-term growth. The human brain is designed to avoid pain. Thousands of years ago, this instinct helped our ancestors survive. Today, however, that same instinct often works against us. Whenever we face a challenge, our minds search for an escape. Exercise feels uncomfortable, so we skip it. Learning a new skill feels difficult, so we postpone it. Saving money requires sacrifice, so we spend it instead. The decision feels harmless.
After all, it is only one day. One missed workout. One wasted evening. One unnecessary purchase. But life is rarely changed by a single decision. It is changed by repeated decisions. Every day, people cast votes for the future they will eventually live. The student who studies consistently is voting for knowledge. The worker who learns new skills is voting for opportunity. The person who exercises is voting for health. And the person who constantly chooses comfort is voting for regret. The dangerous thing about comfort is that it never announces itself as a problem. It arrives disguised as a reward. Take it easy today. You deserve a break. Start tomorrow. One more episode won't hurt. Just 5 more minutes. These small excuses sound harmless, yet they have destroyed more dreams than failure ever has. Failure often teaches lessons. Comfort teaches nothing. Failure pushes people to improve. Comfort encourages them to remain exactly where they are. Look at many successful people and you will notice a pattern.
They willingly accepted discomfort long before success arrived. Athletes train when their bodies want rest. Entrepreneurs work when others are sleeping. Writers write when they do not feel inspired. Musicians practice when nobody is watching. The discomfort comes first. The reward comes later. Most people want the opposite. They want rewards without effort, results without sacrifice, success without struggle. But life does not work that way. Every achievement has a price. The question is whether you choose to pay it now or later. Avoid the discomfort of learning today, and you may pay with limited opportunities tomorrow. Avoid the discomfort of saving money today, and you may pay with financial stress later. Avoid the discomfort of exercise today, and you may pay with poor health in the future. In every case, the bill eventually arrives. The people who succeed are not necessarily more intelligent than everyone else. They simply understand a powerful truth. Temporary discomfort is often the price of permanent improvement. The comfort trap convinces people that easy choices lead to easy lives. Reality teaches the opposite lesson. Easy choices create hard lives. Hard choices create easier lives. The next time you face a choice between comfort and growth, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, will this make my life easier tomorrow, or am I simply making today easier? That single question can save you years of regret. Because the path to a better future rarely begins with comfort. It begins with the courage to be uncomfortable. Chapter 3. The Cost of Instant Gratification. A child is offered a simple choice. He can eat one marshmallow now, or he can wait 15 minutes and receive 2 marshmallows instead. Many children grab the first marshmallow immediately. A few wait patiently for the larger reward. Years later, researchers discovered something remarkable. The children who learned to delay gratification often performed better in school, built stronger careers, and achieved greater success in life. Why? Because one of the most important skills in the world is the ability to sacrifice a small reward today for a larger reward tomorrow. Unfortunately, most people do the opposite. They live according to a simple rule. I want it now. This is the third law of human stupidity. People frequently trade a better future for a pleasant present. Modern life makes this easier than ever. Food can be delivered in minutes. Movies start instantly. Shopping requires only a few taps on a screen. Entertainment never ends. The world has become a giant machine designed to satisfy desires immediately. The problem is that success rarely works that way. Health requires months of exercise. Knowledge requires years of study. Wealth requires patience and discipline. Strong relationships require time and effort. The most valuable rewards in life are usually delayed. Yet many people cannot tolerate waiting. Consider someone who receives their monthly salary. Instead of saving or investing part of it, they spend everything on temporary pleasures. The excitement lasts a few days. The consequences may last for years. Or consider a student preparing for an important exam. Studying feels difficult. Watching videos feels enjoyable. One choice creates future opportunities. The other creates temporary pleasure. Most people know the correct decision. The challenge is making it. Instant gratification feels powerful because it provides immediate emotional rewards. The future, on the other hand, feels distant and uncertain. The brain naturally gives greater importance to what is happening right now. That is why people often choose comfort today, even when they know it will create problems tomorrow. They are not thinking about the future version of themselves. They are thinking about the present moment. And that is where many dreams die. Not because people lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, but because they repeatedly choose what feels good over what creates growth. The irony is that instant gratification often delivers less happiness in the long run. The new phone becomes ordinary. The expensive purchase loses its excitement. The extra hours of entertainment are quickly forgotten. Temporary pleasures disappear surprisingly fast. Meanwhile, the rewards of patience continue growing. A skill becomes expertise. Savings become wealth. Practice becomes mastery. Small daily improvements become extraordinary results. The most successful people understand something that others overlook. They do not ask, "What do I want right now?" They ask, "What will I be grateful for later?" That question changes everything. The athlete trains because their future self will benefit. The investor saves because their future self will benefit. The writer writes because their future self will benefit. Every wise decision is a gift sent forward in time, and every foolish decision is a debt sent forward in time. Eventually, the future arrives, and when it does, people either enjoy the rewards of patience or suffer the consequences of impatience. The choice was made long before. The cost of instant gratification is not always visible immediately. That is what makes it dangerous. But if you learn to delay small pleasures for greater rewards, you gain an advantage that most people never develop. Because while the crowd is chasing what feels good today, you are quietly building a better tomorrow. And tomorrow always belongs to those who prepared for it.
Chapter 4. Following the Crowd. Imagine you are walking through a city street. You notice a large group of people gathered around a building. Without knowing why, you feel curious. You slow down. You look. You wonder what everyone else is looking at. This reaction is completely natural. Human beings are social creatures. For thousands of years, survival depended on staying with the tribe. Being accepted by the group often meant safety. Being rejected could mean danger. As a result, our brains developed a powerful instinct. Follow the crowd. Most of the time, this instinct is harmless. But sometimes it becomes extremely dangerous. This is the fourth law of human stupidity. People often assume something is right simply because many people are doing it. History is filled with examples. Entire populations have believed false ideas. Financial bubbles have convinced millions to invest in worthless assets. Crowds have celebrated leaders who later brought disaster. Large groups of people have made terrible decisions together. The crowd is not always wise. Sometimes the crowd is simply wrong. Yet many people stop thinking the moment they see enough others doing the same thing. If everyone is buying, they buy. If everyone is selling, they sell. If everyone is angry, they become angry. If everyone believes something, they believe it too. Independent thinking disappears. The desire to belong takes control. Consider a simple example. A restaurant has a long line outside. Another restaurant nearby has no line at all. Most people automatically assume the crowded restaurant must be better. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But very few people stop to investigate. They simply trust the crowd. The same pattern appears everywhere. People choose careers because their friends choose them. They buy products because influencers promote them. They adopt opinions because everyone around them shares those opinions. Many never stop to ask a simple question. Is this actually true? The problem with following the crowd is that crowds react emotionally. Fear spreads quickly. So does excitement. So does panic. When enough people become emotional, logic often disappears. This is why stock market bubbles form. This is why rumors spread. This is why ordinary people sometimes make extraordinary mistakes. The crowd can provide comfort. It can provide confidence. But it cannot guarantee correctness. Some of the greatest achievements in history came from people willing to stand alone. Inventors challenged accepted beliefs. Scientists questioned established ideas. Entrepreneurs ignored critics. Explorers traveled beyond known boundaries. If they had followed the crowd, their discoveries would never have happened. Progress begins where blind conformity ends.
This does not mean the crowd is always wrong. Sometimes the majority is correct. The lesson is not to reject popular ideas automatically. The lesson is to think for yourself before accepting them. Wise people do not ask, "What is everyone else doing?" They ask, "Why are they doing it?" That single question separates independent thinkers from followers. Following the crowd feels safe. Thinking for yourself feels risky. But history teaches the same lesson repeatedly. The crowd rarely creates greatness. The crowd follows greatness after it appears. If you want an ordinary life, follow every trend, every opinion, and every popular belief without question. If you want something better, learn to examine ideas for yourself. Because the truth is not determined by popularity. 1,000,000 people can believe something foolish, and one person can be right. The next time you find yourself moving with the crowd, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I thinking or am I simply following? That question may save you from mistakes that millions of others willingly make. And it may lead you toward opportunities that the crowd never sees.
Chapter 5. The Illusion of Being Busy. Walk into any office, cafe, or workplace, and you will hear the same complaint. I'm so busy. People say it with pride. They rush from task to task. They answer endless messages. They attend meetings. They make phone calls. They fill every hour of the day with activity. Yet, many of them achieve very little. This is the fifth law of human stupidity. Being busy is not the same as being productive. Many people spend their lives confusing movement with progress. Imagine a person running on a treadmill. They are moving constantly, sweating, working hard, expending energy. But at the end of an hour, they are exactly where they started. Life often works the same way. A person can stay busy all day and still make no meaningful progress toward their goals. The modern world encourages this illusion. Notifications arrive every few minutes. Emails demand attention. Social media competes for focus. New tasks appear faster than old tasks disappear. As a result, many people spend their days reacting instead of creating. They handle urgent matters, but ignore important ones. They answer messages, but never write the book. They attend meetings, but never build the business. They stay occupied, but never move forward.
The problem is that busyness feels productive. It creates the comforting sensation of effort. At the end of the day, people can tell themselves they worked hard, and perhaps they did. But hard work alone is not enough. The question is whether that work mattered. Consider two workers. The first spends 10 hours responding to minor requests, checking notifications, and switching between tasks. The second spends 3 focused hours on the most important project of the day. Who accomplished more? In many cases, the second person, because productivity is measured by results, not activity. Some of the most successful people appear surprisingly calm. They are not constantly rushing. They are not trying to do everything. Instead, they focus on a few high-value actions and ignore the rest. They understand that every yes is also a no. When you say yes to distractions, you say no to progress. When you say yes to endless entertainment, you say no to growth. When you say yes to unimportant tasks, you say no to meaningful achievements. This is why prioritization is so powerful. Not all tasks are equal. Some create enormous results. Others create almost none. Yet many people treat every task as equally important. They spend hours organizing their desks while neglecting the work that actually matters. They perfect minor details while ignoring major opportunities.
They become experts at staying busy and amateurs at achieving results. The truly productive person asks a different question. Not, what should I do next? But, what matters most? That question changes everything. It forces attention toward the activities that create real progress. It exposes distractions disguised as work. And it reveals an uncomfortable truth. Many of the things we do every day are unnecessary. The illusion of busyness is dangerous because it hides failure. A person can waste years while feeling productive. They can remain trapped in the same place while convincing themselves they are working hard. Then one day they look back and wonder where the time went. The answer is simple. It disappeared into activity without purpose. The goal of life is not to fill every minute. The goal is to use your minutes wisely. Being busy may impress other people. Being productive will change your life. The next time you feel overwhelmed by tasks, pause and ask yourself, if I could accomplish only one thing today, what would make the biggest difference? Then start there. Because success rarely comes from doing more things. It comes from doing the right things. And that is a lesson most people learn far too late.
Chapter 6. The Knowledge Without Action Disease. Never before in human history has knowledge been so easy to obtain. A person can learn almost anything with a few taps on a screen. Want to start a business? There are thousands of videos. Want to get fit? There are countless books and courses. Want to learn a new skill? The information is already waiting for you. Yet despite having access to more knowledge than any generation before us, many people remain stuck. Why? Because knowledge alone changes nothing. This is the sixth law of human stupidity. Knowing what to do is not the same as doing it. Many people suffer from a condition that few recognize. They constantly consume information but rarely apply it. They read books about success. They watch videos about discipline. They listen to podcasts about productivity. They take notes. They save quotes. They collect advice. But their lives remain exactly the same. The problem is not a lack of knowledge. The problem is a lack of action.
Imagine a person who owns a library filled with books about swimming. They know every technique, every stroke, every breathing method. They can explain swimming better than most people, but they have never entered the water. Can they swim? Of course not. Knowledge without action is merely entertainment. The same principle applies to every area of life. You can read 100 books about fitness, but your body will not change until you exercise. You can study investing for years, but your financial future will not improve until you invest. You can learn every theory about confidence, but confidence grows only through action. Many people mistake learning for progress. It feels productive. It feels safe. It feels useful. And sometimes it is. But learning becomes dangerous when it replaces doing. The reason is simple. Action involves risk. Learning does not. When you act, you might fail. You might make mistakes. You might look foolish. When you merely learn, none of those things happen. You remain comfortable, protected, safe. Unfortunately, success lives outside that safety zone. A person who takes imperfect action will usually outperform someone with perfect knowledge and zero action. History proves this repeatedly. Businesses are built by people who start before they feel ready. Writers become authors by writing, not by reading about writing. Athletes improve through practice, not by studying sports theory. Progress belongs to those who act, not those who prepare forever. One of the biggest traps is believing that one more book, one more course, or one more video will finally provide the missing answer. In reality, the missing answer is often experience, and experience can only be gained through action. The world is filled with people waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, the perfect level of confidence. Most wait forever. Successful people understand something different. They know that clarity often comes after action, not before it. They start. They adjust. They learn from mistakes. They improve along the way. That is how real growth happens. not through endless preparation, but through repeated action. The next time you learn something valuable, resist the urge to immediately search for more information. Instead, ask yourself a simple question. What is one action I can take today? Not next month. Not next year. Today. Because knowledge has potential. Action creates results. And in the end, life rewards those who do, not those who merely know.
Chapter 7. The Blame Game. A man loses his job. He blames the economy. A student fails an exam. She blames the teacher. An entrepreneur's business struggles. He blames the competition. A person gains weight. They blame their genetics. Sometimes these explanations contain a grain of truth. The economy can be difficult. Teachers can be unfair. Competition can be intense. Genetics can matter. But there is a dangerous trap hidden within these explanations. This is the seventh law of human stupidity. The more people blame others for their problems, the less power they have to solve them. Blame feels good. It protects the ego. It provides an excuse. It removes responsibility. Most importantly, it allows people to avoid an uncomfortable possibility. What if I am part of the problem? That question is difficult. But it is also powerful. Because the moment you identify your role in a problem, you gain the ability to change it.
Imagine two people facing the same setback. The first spends months complaining. They blame circumstances. They blame luck. They blame other people. The second person asks, "What can I do differently?" One remains stuck. The other moves forward. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is ownership. Ownership means accepting responsibility for what you can control. It does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means focusing your attention where it can make a difference. Many people misunderstand this idea. They believe responsibility is a burden. In reality, responsibility is freedom. If everything is someone else's fault, then your future depends on them. If your success depends entirely on politicians, bosses, family members, or luck, then you are powerless. But if your actions matter, then you have options. You have influence. You have control. That is why successful people tend to focus on what they can change. They cannot control the weather, but they can carry an umbrella. They cannot control the economy, but they can improve their skills. They cannot control every obstacle, but they can control their response.
Meanwhile, chronic blamers live in a different world. Every problem has a villain. Every failure has an excuse. Every disappointment becomes evidence that life is unfair. Years pass. Nothing changes. Because blame may explain a problem, but it rarely solves one. Consider a simple example. Two employees are passed over for promotion. The first becomes bitter. They complain about favoritism. They criticize management. They do nothing else. The second employee examines their performance. They develop new skills. They improve weaknesses. They prepare for future opportunities. Who is more likely to succeed? The answer is obvious. Yet most people choose the first path because it feels easier. The human ego loves excuses. Growth requires honesty, and honesty is uncomfortable. It forces people to admit mistakes, to acknowledge weaknesses, to confront reality. But reality, however unpleasant, is always more useful than excuses. One of the most empowering questions in life is, what part of this situation can I control? That question shifts attention away from blame and toward action, away from frustration and toward improvement,
away from helplessness and toward progress. The blame game is seductive because it offers emotional relief. For a moment, people feel better.
But that relief comes at a price. Every excuse weakens personal responsibility. Every complaint steals energy from action. Every act of blame hands control to someone else. The people who achieve the most are not those with perfect circumstances. They are those who take responsibility despite imperfect circumstances. They understand a simple truth. Life is not always fair, but fairness is not the requirement for progress. Responsibility is. The next time something goes wrong, resist the urge to immediately search for someone to blame. Instead, ask, what can I do next? Because that question has built more successful lives than every excuse ever invented. And that is a lesson far too many people never learn.
Chapter 8. The Ego Trap. A young employee receives advice from an experienced mentor. Instead of listening, he immediately thinks, I already know that. An investor ignores warnings because she believes she cannot be wrong. A leader refuses criticism because he sees disagreement as disrespect. All three people have fallen into the same trap. The ego trap. This is the 8th law of human stupidity. The moment people believe they have nothing left to learn, they begin to fall behind. Knowledge can make people wiser, but it can also make them arrogant. Success can build confidence, but it can also create blindness. The problem begins when confidence transforms into certainty. When people become convinced that they are always right, they stop asking questions. They stop listening. They stop improving. And growth comes to an end. The ego is a strange thing. It constantly seeks protection. It wants to appear intelligent. It wants to avoid embarrassment. It wants to win arguments. It wants to be admired. Because of this, the ego often treats learning as a threat. Admitting ignorance feels uncomfortable. Admitting mistakes feels painful. Changing your mind feels like losing. Yet these are the very actions that lead to growth. Think about the most skilled people in any field.
The best athletes continue training. The best musicians continue practicing. The best scientists continue questioning their assumptions. The best leaders continue learning. They understand a simple truth. There is always more to know. In contrast, average people often believe they have already learned enough. They become trapped by their own certainty. A person who knows a little often feels like an expert. A true expert usually realizes how much remains unknown. That is why wisdom and humility often travel together. The wiser people become, the more aware they are of their limitations. History provides countless examples of talented individuals destroyed by ego. Successful companies ignored changing markets because they believed they were unbeatable. Powerful leaders surrounded themselves with people who agreed with them. Famous athletes stopped training as hard because they believed they had already reached the top. In each case, the same pattern appears. Success created arrogance. Arrogance prevented learning. And the inability to learn led to failure. The ego trap is dangerous because it disguises itself as strength. Confidence looks powerful. Certainty looks powerful. Pride looks powerful. But beneath the surface, they often hide weakness. A confident person can admit mistakes. An insecure person often cannot. A strong person can accept criticism. A weak person feels threatened by it. True confidence does not need to pretend to be perfect. It is secure enough to learn. One of the most valuable habits you can develop is the habit of curiosity. Instead of trying to prove you are right, try to understand. Instead of defending every opinion, examine it. Instead of speaking first, listen. Curiosity keeps the mind open. The ego tries to close it. The people who improve the fastest are not always the smartest. They are the most teachable. They ask questions. They seek feedback. They change when evidence demands it. Most importantly, they understand that learning never ends. The ego trap convinces people that they have arrived.
Reality says otherwise. There is always another lesson, another skill, another perspective, another opportunity to grow. The next time you catch yourself thinking, I already know this, pause for a moment. You may be standing at the doorway to a lesson that could change your life. Because wisdom does not come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing that you never will. And that realization is one of the smartest things a person can learn.
Chapter 9. The money mistakes most people repeat. Money is one of the most important tools in life. It can provide security, freedom, opportunities, peace of mind. Yet despite its importance, many people spend years learning how to earn money, and almost no time learning how to manage it. As a result, they repeat the same mistakes again and again. This is the 9th law of human stupidity. It is not how much money you make that determines your future. It is how much you keep and how wisely you use it. Many people believe that more income will solve all their financial problems. If only I earned a little more, they tell themselves. But history is full of people who earned fortunes and still ended up broke. Athletes have lost millions. Celebrities have gone bankrupt. Lottery winners have returned to poverty. The problem was not income. The problem was behavior. One of the most common money mistakes is lifestyle inflation. A person receives a raise. Instead of saving or investing the extra money, they immediately upgrade their lifestyle. A bigger house, a newer car, more expensive vacations, more subscriptions, more monthly expenses. Soon the raise disappears. Then another raise arrives, and the cycle repeats. Despite earning more than ever, they never feel financially secure. Their income grows, their spending grows faster.
Another common mistake is confusing wants with needs. A need improves survival or well-being. A want simply provides temporary satisfaction. There is nothing wrong with enjoying life's pleasures. The danger comes when every desire is treated like a necessity. Many people purchase things not because they need them, but because they want to impress others. They buy status. They buy appearances. They buy approval, often with money they cannot afford to spend. The result is predictable. Short-term excitement, long-term stress. Perhaps the most expensive financial mistake of all is ignoring the future. Retirement feels far away. Emergencies seem unlikely. Economic problems appear distant. So people postpone saving. Years pass. Then reality arrives. A job loss, a medical expense, an unexpected crisis, and suddenly they discover the cost of being unprepared. Wise people understand a simple principle. Money loves patience. Small amounts saved consistently often become large amounts over time, not because of luck, but because time multiplies good decisions. Unfortunately, patience is rare. Many people chase quick riches. They search for secret shortcuts. They want wealth without discipline. When an opportunity sounds too good to be true, they convince themselves it must be real. And that is exactly how countless financial disasters begin.
The truth is less exciting, but far more reliable. Wealth is usually built slowly, one good decision at a time, one investment at a time, one saved dollar at a time. Another mistake people make is failing to understand the difference between an asset and a liability. An asset generally puts money into your life. A liability generally takes money out. Yet many people spend years accumulating liabilities while believing they are building wealth. They focus on appearances rather than financial reality, and appearances have bankrupted many people. The wealthy person is not always the one driving the most expensive car. Sometimes the truly wealthy person is the one quietly living below their means while their savings and investments grow. Money is not a test of intelligence. Many highly intelligent people make poor financial choices, and many ordinary people achieve financial security through simple, consistent habits. The difference often comes down to discipline, not brilliance. The money mistakes most people repeat are rarely dramatic. They are small decisions made every day. A little overspending, a little procrastination, a little impatience. Over time, those small choices create enormous consequences. The next time you receive money, ask yourself a simple question.
Am I spending this to improve my future or merely to improve this moment? That question can prevent countless financial mistakes, because wealth is not built by a few spectacular decisions. It is built by hundreds of ordinary decisions made wisely. And those decisions determine far more than your bank account. They determine your freedom.
Chapter 10. The Attention Crisis. 100 years ago, a person's biggest distraction might have been a conversation, a newspaper, or a noisy neighbor. Today, distractions live in our pockets. They follow us everywhere. They buzz. They ring. They vibrate. They demand attention every hour of every day. As a result, many people suffer from a problem they barely recognize. They can no longer focus. This is the 10th law of human stupidity. What controls your attention eventually controls your life. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. More valuable than money, more valuable than talent, more valuable than knowledge. Because whatever receives your attention receives your time, and whatever receives your time shapes your future. A person who focuses on learning develops skills. A person who focuses on health becomes stronger. A person who focuses on meaningful work creates results. But a person who constantly loses attention loses something even more important: progress. The modern world is built around capturing attention. Companies compete for every second of your focus. Social media platforms measure success by how long they can keep you scrolling. Streaming services encourage endless viewing. News outlets compete for clicks. Advertisements compete for curiosity.
Everyone wants your attention because attention is valuable. The problem is that most people give it away freely. They wake up and immediately check their phones. They switch between apps, messages, videos, and notifications throughout the day. They struggle to focus on one task for more than a few minutes. Then they wonder why their goals remain unfinished. The answer is simple. Deep achievements require deep focus. Great books are not written through constant interruption. Businesses are not built through endless scrolling. Skills are not mastered while checking notifications every few minutes. Meaningful work requires concentration, and concentration has become increasingly rare. One of the greatest myths of modern life is multitasking. People often believe they can do several things at once. In reality, they are usually switching rapidly between tasks. Each switch carries a cost. Focus weakens. Mistakes increase. Productivity declines. The brain performs best when it can direct its full attention toward a single objective. Yet many people spend their days dividing their attention into tiny fragments. A little work, a little entertainment, a few messages, a quick video, another notification, another distraction. By evening, they feel busy, but little has been accomplished. The attention crisis is dangerous because it develops gradually. No one notices the damage immediately. A few minutes here, a few minutes there. The losses seem insignificant, but over months and years they become enormous. Books remain unread. Skills remain undeveloped. Goals remain unfinished. Dreams remain distant. All because attention was scattered instead of focused. Successful people understand a simple truth. Attention is a resource that must be protected. They do not allow every notification to interrupt their thoughts. They create periods of focused work. They intentionally choose what deserves their attention. Most importantly, they understand that every distraction carries an opportunity cost. Whenever you give attention to one thing, you take it away from something else. The question is whether that trade is worth it. Imagine receiving a daily allowance of attention. You can spend it however you choose. Would you spend it entirely on random videos, endless arguments, and constant distractions? Or would you invest it in learning, creating, building, and improving? Every day, that is exactly the choice you make. The quality of your attention eventually becomes the quality of your life. The next time you reach for your phone without thinking, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this moving me toward my goals or away from them? That simple question can save hours. Those hours can become achievements. And those achievements can become a better future. Because in a world full of distractions, the ability to focus is becoming a superpower. And those who master it gain an advantage that grows stronger every year.
Chapter 11. The Fear of Looking Foolish. A young man wants to start a business, but he worries that people will laugh if he fails. A woman dreams of speaking on stage, but she fears making a mistake in front of an audience. A student knows the answer to a question, yet remains silent because they are afraid of being wrong. Every day, millions of people abandon opportunities for the same reason. They are afraid of looking foolish. This is the 11th law of human stupidity. Many people sacrifice their future to protect their pride. The fear of failure is powerful, but the fear of embarrassment is often even stronger. Human beings care deeply about what others think. We want acceptance. We want approval. We want respect. There is nothing unusual about that. The problem begins when the desire for approval becomes more important than growth. Many dreams die before they even begin. Not because they were impossible, but because someone was worried about appearing foolish. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall repeatedly, again and again. Yet they keep trying. They do not worry about looking silly. They do not feel embarrassed. They simply focus on learning. Eventually, they succeed. Adults often do the opposite. The moment failure becomes possible, fear takes control. They avoid trying. They avoid learning. They avoid risk. Not because they cannot succeed, but because they cannot tolerate temporary embarrassment.
The irony is that every expert was once a beginner. Every successful entrepreneur once knew nothing about business. Every great speaker once felt nervous. Every accomplished writer once wrote poor sentences. Every skilled athlete once struggled with basic techniques. The difference is that they were willing to look foolish long enough to improve. Most people want confidence before they act. Successful people understand that confidence comes after action. Nobody begins as an expert. Nobody begins without mistakes. Nobody begins without uncertainty. The path to competence passes directly through incompetence. There is no shortcut. Yet many people spend years avoiding opportunities because they fear judgment. They worry about what friends might say, what coworkers might think, what strangers might believe. But here is an uncomfortable truth. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to spend much time thinking about you. The audience you fear often does not exist. And even when people do judge you, their opinions rarely matter as much as you imagine.
Consider this question. Would you rather be laughed at for trying something difficult, or regret never trying at all? Years from now, most people do not regret the times they looked foolish. They regret the opportunities they never pursued, the conversations they never started, the businesses they never launched, the dreams they never chased. Regret is often the price of excessive caution. The fear of looking foolish creates invisible prisons. The doors are unlocked. The key is available. Yet people remain trapped because they are afraid to step outside. The truly confident person is not someone who never feels embarrassed. It is someone who acts despite the possibility of embarrassment. They understand that growth and discomfort travel together. They accept that mistakes are part of learning. They know that temporary humiliation is often the cost of permanent improvement. Every achievement requires a willingness to be a beginner, and beginners always look imperfect. The next time you hesitate because of what others might think, ask yourself, will this matter 5 years from now? Most of the time, the answer is no, but the opportunity you ignore may matter greatly. Your future rarely depends on avoiding embarrassment. It often depends on overcoming it. Because the people who accomplish extraordinary things are not those who never look foolish. They are those who refuse to let that fear stop them. And that makes all the difference.
Chapter 12. The Final Law. Intelligent Living. Throughout this book, we have explored many forms of human stupidity. The comfort trap. The cost of instant gratification. Following the crowd. The illusion of being busy. The knowledge without action disease. The blame game. The ego trap. The money mistakes most people repeat. The attention crisis. The fear of looking foolish. At first glance, these problems may seem different, but they all share something important. They are not caused by a lack of intelligence. They are caused by habits of thinking, and habits can be changed. This brings us to the final law. The smartest people are not those who make the fewest mistakes. They are the ones who learn from mistakes the fastest. Many people spend their lives trying to appear intelligent. They want to be admired. They want to be respected. They want others to see them as smart. But intelligent living is not about appearances. It is about decisions. A truly intelligent person understands that mistakes are inevitable. No one escapes them. No one becomes successful without them. No one becomes wise without them. The difference lies in what happens next. Some people deny their mistakes. Others defend them. Others repeat them. Wise people study them. Every mistake contains information. Every failure contains a lesson. Every setback contains an opportunity to improve. The question is whether you are willing to learn. Intelligent living begins with self-awareness, the ability to examine yourself honestly, to recognize weaknesses, to identify destructive habits, to admit when you are wrong. This sounds simple, yet it is one of the rarest skills in the world. Most people examine others. Few examine themselves. The next principle is responsibility. Successful people focus on what they can control. They do not waste years complaining about circumstances. They concentrate their energy where it can produce results. They understand that while they cannot control everything, they can always control their response. Another principle is patience. Modern society celebrates speed, instant results, instant success, instant rewards. But life rarely works that way. The most valuable achievements grow slowly. Skills require practice. Wealth requires time. Relationships require effort. Character requires experience. Patience allows these things to develop. Intelligent living also requires courage. The courage to act before you feel ready. The courage to stand apart from the crowd. The courage to face criticism. The courage to look foolish while learning. Without courage, knowledge remains unused. Dreams remain unfinished. Potential remains unrealized. Perhaps the most important principle of all is continuous learning. The moment people believe they have learned enough, growth begins to stop. Life is constantly changing. New challenges appear. New opportunities emerge. New lessons arrive. The people who thrive are those who remain curious, who continue asking questions, who remain students throughout their lives. Intelligent living is not about perfection. Perfection is impossible. Every person will make poor decisions. Every person will experience failure. Every person will occasionally act foolishly. The goal is not to eliminate mistakes. The goal is to make better mistakes, to learn faster, to recover quicker, to grow stronger. By now, you may have recognized some of these laws in your own life. That is a good sign. Awareness is where improvement begins. The people who never change are usually those who never examine themselves. The people who transform their lives are those who do.
As you move forward, remember this. Success is not reserved for geniuses. Wisdom is not reserved for scholars. A better life is not reserved for the lucky. It belongs to those who consistently make slightly better decisions than they made yesterday, day after day, month after month, year after year. In the end, intelligent living is surprisingly simple. Think for yourself. Take responsibility. Stay humble. Keep learning. Focus on what matters, and never stop improving. Follow these principles and you will avoid many of the mistakes that keep people poor, weak, and unsuccessful. Ignore them and life will teach the lessons the hard way. The choice, as always, is yours.